bush, and I'm hoping that you will be able to see my mat and a few things that I've got prepared for you. So I am going to start off, and then I'll be able to tilt the phone. Oh, that's not a bad view. That's not a bad view at all. I'll be able to tilt the phone because just here is my sewing machine ready for you to see. There's a lot going on, Liz, you're right. Goodness me. But it's all great stuff. We've got workshops. Liz has got just finished the workshop, and there's we've got a workshop in March. Lizzie's doing a charity quilt so that we can raise money to help Amanda with her marathon run and her hospice. They do a marvellous job, and as an occupational therapist in a hospice, she has a very busy job, bless her. And I've never met Amanda, but I've heard all about her, and I'm sure that she's going to do great. So we're all rooting for her in the marathon. And if you want to show your support, then for every £5 you get a chance to win the quilt. But in fact, you don't have the chance to win the quilt because I am going to win it. I've decided this time. So I'm going to do 3 zips for you. This one is possibly the easiest. Then it leads us nicely into the next one, because the next one. So what we're going to do is, this zip is what you would use on the back of a cushion. So on the back of a cushion, I'm not going to make anything. I'm just going to show you demonstrations. So on the back of a cushion, you would have, if you want to put a zip in, and it can go in the centre, which is what I'm going to do today, or it can go to one side, or it can go right on the side of the cushion. So let's pretend this is the back of the cushion and the front of the cushion is on that side. You've all sorted out your front, and now you want to put a zip in the back. So what I'm going to do first, I've got a zip that's a little bit too long. So, whoops. That's my scissors falling apart. So one end stayed and one end went on the floor. I'm going to cut that down a little bit. So if you've never used a zip on a roll, and you've got zips, then you can cut an ordinary zip. So I'm going to cut it down to about there. I haven't measured it, because what we're going to do is we're going to put zip tabs top and bottom. So then when you sew your cushion around, or whatever it is that you put in a zip in, then you won't have your zip left in your seams. So I normally do my zip tabs a little bit too big. Yeah, I have two 2-inch squares for each end. I'm going to sandwich the zip in between, so my zip is facing upwards. Oh, Nicola, no, I think you're always on to a winner. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll share it. You have it for a few weeks, then I'll have it for a few weeks. Job done. And the postman will be really happy, because we'll be sending it backwards and forwards. So I have the zip facing up, and I'm going to put one of my zip tabs facing down. Just so, let me take that away so you might see it a little bit more clearly if it's not pink on pink. So one of the zip tabs facing down, kind of centre, and matching right side facing up. So we've got a zip sandwich. So if I do that the other way, that's in the centre with this raw edge facing out, and that's there as well. Now, if you wanted to put some quilter's tape on there to hold that in place, you could do, but there's really, well, you can hold it with a clip or a pin, or you can do whatever you want to. I tend to just take it to the sewing machine, as long as you've got the raw edges lined up. It doesn't matter really if it's very central, because we're going to trim that bit off. That's why I said there's a little bit of waste fabric, but it's the tiniest little bit. So I've got those to take them to the sewing machine. So I'm going to manipulate the phone again, hopefully so that you can see what's going on at the sewing machine. So I might have to adjust that in a minute. You can also see my bin down here, but I don't mind that, because my floor is nice and clean, because everything's in the bin. So I'm hoping that's a good enough view for you. It looks sort of a little bit of workspace here that I can do. You can see my zips here. So actually what I'm going to do for 1 minute, if I can find my ruler. Now, don't tell me that I'm using a ruler for the wrong thing. I know, but I have lost a little pouch. And in my pouch, there is my ordinary little zipper foot, which is the standard foot for this machine, and a couple of other bits and pieces, and my screwdriver. And do you think I can find it? No. And the reason why I can't find it is because I've looked for it. When I look for something else, I will find it. I'm going to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance, or thereabouts. I've got my stitch length on normal, so about 2.4 I think, and I've just stitched along 1/4 inch. So if I show you that, I just trim my edges. If I show you that, that's all I've done, is to stitch along 1/4 inch. So if I push those two back, then you can see that my zip tab is nicely. Now if you want to, you can top stitch along there. I'm not going to, just because it's time. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other side, so you can see that you can take this to the machine and then place it. And place that one on the dot. This lined up nice and square. You don't have to worry too much if it's 3/8 of an inch over one side and 1/2 an inch over the other, or whatever it is, because we're going to trim those off. So I'll show you this one as well. And as you can see, I'm putting that in my bin. We have to remember, don't we, that it's all very well having something lovely and neat and clean and tidy. And I do like my room clean and tidy, but it's a workroom after all, isn't it? You can see my zip tabs and my zip all ready to be sorted out. So what I'm going to do now is I am just going to trim. Now, if you want to do this with a rotary cutter alongside, and I do it so that I can have the zip tape on my left hand side. If you're left-handed, you might want to do it slightly different. And don't worry if the ends are slightly big, because with that is just so that they don't move about. I am going to just probably baste, if you like, or tack those two ends together. And then you can do that before or after you trim, it doesn't matter. So I'll show you, you can do it on this one before you trim it. Let's just straighten up that seam. And it would probably be best to give that a little press as well, or you can finger press it so that seam is nice and straight. So then, now I've stitched, I can, and so those are not going to go anywhere. So that's my zip sorted. Looks like I'm left-handed on there, doesn't it? It's because Facebook have stopped us turning our phones to the other orientation, because they want us to use the back camera of our phones. I expect they're in cahoots with the phone manufacturers. So here we have the two pieces of our cushion. I'm going to put those right sides together. Now, if you want to pin, you can pin, but I'm just going to sew down the side. Now, what we need for this is that we need a longer stitch length, and then we need a seam allowance of at least 1/2 inch. So if you are cutting the backs to your cushion, remember that you need a bigger seam allowance, not the usual 1/4 inch. Now, I've got a 5/8 seam allowance mark on my machine just here. So you can see there. So I'm going to do my seam 5/8 of an inch. It doesn't matter as long as it's bigger. I'm not going to worry about back stitching. I'm just going to go for it. And I'm following that line, so I'm doing a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. So, and then what I want to do, turn my iron on. I want to open up the fabrics and open up that a finger press, so you can see that, well, I hope you can see that that's bigger than my 1/4 inch seam allowance. I hope you can see that there. So I'm going to give it a little press. I'm going to push that away a little bit, just so you can see what I'm doing here. So press the seam nice and flat on both sides, so you've got no little bits of pleats or anything like that. Oh, that wasn't very good. There we go. I'll turn that iron down a little bit. So now what we want to do is we want to insert our zip. So what we need to do is to make sure that our zip is central. So what you would do is make a mark there and make a mark on your zip. And then you know that your zip tabs, make a mark here. Let's push that away a minute. So to do that, you just need to fold it in half and finger press. When I was a teacher, the children took a bear or maths monkey home and kept a journal. We could have a quilt quest. That's a good idea. So we could keep a little journal of what we do with our quilt, and then we could pass it on to the next person. Unfortunately, though, Karen, going by past experience, I'm not going to win. So if you win, and then if you fold your zip in half, of course, I've got that right in the centre now, haven't we? So that's going to stop me. You fold your zip in half. You can make a little snip in the zip tape, and then my zip is a little bit skew if they're pleated. Okay, so we want, wherever you want the zip to close, that's where you need to start off. So I'm going to start, I've got my little notch here, and I'm going to pop that where the center is, and I'm going to make sure that my zip coil, so you've got two zip coils and there's a little center of it, and that is right in the center. Now I can do a couple of two things. Put some quilter's tape down here, or I can just go for it. So I'm going to put some quilter's tape, because I imagine that most people will want to make sure it's nice and accurate. And then what I will do is I'll pin as well, because what we need to do is to make sure that that zip stays central. There. I'm sorry if my arm's getting in the way. I'm going to take that off there. Hello, Caroline. I hope you've had a good day at work. And I'm going to find my little notch, and I'm going to put that just there. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that my zip stays central all the way up. And then I'm going to make sure it stays central all the way down. So let's turn this around so you can see what I'm doing. So making sure that this zip coil is right on that seam all the way, okay? And the other thing that I'm going to do is move that down a little bit. It will want to move, and then so as you open that up, you see, you can see the seam through it. Let me show you. You can see the seam through it, so you know you've got it in the right place. Turn it over. We know that that zip is in exactly the right place. Okay, so you can see that our zip tabs are a little bit longer, so we can trim those off, and our zip is central. Doesn't look very central there, but it is. So now what we want to do is we want to sew with 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down. Now if I had my tiny little foot, that would be easy peasy, but I don't have my tiny little foot, so I need to put on my zipper foot for this machine. It's a long time since I used my little thin, been hectic for a few days, 2 days off now, or a nice little rest if you can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this so that I'm going to turn it like that a little bit. That's my scissors, and I might need those. I think that's a better view, isn't it? And you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So what we need to do, I think I am going to sew from the other side, because then I can just judge where I'm sewing to. So we're going to, I'm using the foot, it's not what I love to do. But it's one way of doing it. Now, what I didn't tell you to do was to turn your stitch down again to your normal stitch. I don't know whether you can see that there, but you'll be able to see it on that side. So I am a good 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to turn it up the other way. I don't normally do that with zips, but rather than keep messing with my zipper foot, I will this time. If you prefer to do this from the other side, then feel free to do it from the other side, which is probably what I would do if I had my other foot. So, stitching down the bottom, you can also see my little bird's nest that I've created. I'm very proud of my little bird's nests that I create. Does anybody else create bird's nests? I do. I make a living at it. Well, I don't, because I don't get any money for it, but perhaps it's just my hobby. Okay, so my zip is, I'm going to take my lovely seam ripper, and where it's at the top here, so it's in the middle, I can actually pop in the seam ripper and do that. And then I've made a bit of an inroad right to the very end. But what will happen, and if you want to, you can go across these ends, so perhaps we'll do that. So just a little way across to make sure that that doesn't, and push in, just so that those stitches don't all come apart. And there you have, I won't do it to the other side because obviously it's exactly the same. And there you have the zip. And when you close the zip, it will be covered. I'll cut that off. We'll pretend that I've done a little cross stitch at the bottom to stop the stitches coming out, etc., etc. Or to stop, I did it at the top to stop that zip pull coming off there, but you've got your little zip tabs down the bottom as well. So your zip tabs are only there really to save you having zip inside your seam allowance. So there is zip number 1. Okay? Easy peasy. Everybody all right with that? Everybody all right with that? Couldn't be easier. And it's a hidden zip. The only way you'll get a hidden zip is if you go at least 1/4 of an inch from there. See, I've veered off at the bottom there, because I stitched on the end, but that's going to be in my seam allowance anyway. So what I'm going to do with the next one, so that was zip number 1, this is zip number 2. And if we don't get zip number 2 finished, then perhaps I'll just have to do a pas deux of zips. It's no big deal, is it? We don't have to finish things. We can go on and do the next one. So this one is a little bit more, I was going to say complicated, but the first part of it is exactly the same. These are my my zip tabs. And I'm going to put it on the machine because it's easier to do. I'm going to try not to have to move my foot. Or change my foot. It might not like it, but it might. We'll see. So exactly the same thing for your zip tabs. So cut my ends off. There's the first one. And if we go along the bottom, messing about. That's just what I do. I don't know if anybody else does that, but I just feel that that saves me from messing about. And I am going to trim that off, turn it over so I know where the zip is, the zip tape is, and I don't cut through there. Never go straight. Okay, so that's that one. What I've done with this zip is to stitch along there at about 1/8 of an inch apart. I'll do the same thing and bring it up to my machine. So tell me, who doesn't do zips? Who, I'm not going to say afraid, who's nervous about doing a zip so they avoid them? Come on, it's time to fess up and not be worried about confessing. It is lovely fabric, isn't it? This is French fabric. It's lighter than quilting weight cotton, and it is particularly beautiful. So I might have to do something with this zip, which is why I chose zip. So that if I wanted to, I could do something with it. Might make a little pouch or a bag or something. So this is the second zip tab, and I am going to trim that as well. So what we're going to do with this, I have got a piece of fabric here, and I've got slits off my desk. A little bit of wadding on the back, and I'm pretending that that's the front of a bag. Okay, so that there is a 10-inch square. This here is the front of my bag, and this here is my pocket. So this is my pocket lining, and this is my pocket front. So I am going to stitch across the top with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Still got my zipper foot on, but that's okay. It's working, it's behaving. So this is how I would add a zipped pocket to the front of a bag, or this is one way that I would do it. So I would construct my pocket first according to my pattern. This is to give it a press, trying not to burn myself in the process. And I'm going to fold that over. And then now, that said, if you want to, as all I'm going to do is to put the pocket on the front there. The other way of doing this is to actually, perhaps I'll do it that way as well. So all we would do then is to line up the zip centrally like we did before. Find the center of your pocket, find the center of your zip, and line up your pocket, and then just top stitch along there. What you can do if you want to is you can put your zip in as you would normally do. So stitch there and then pull it back. And I think that's probably what I'm going to do for this one, because that's two ways of you making something like this. So I'm going to just put a couple of clips on there. I'm going to, if you're afraid of zips. Mary, are you a bit afraid of zips? I know I used to be, and I have to say that it's not until you keep doing them, because you can watch as many videos as you like, and this particular video will always be here, so you can watch it along. So, you know, but it's not until you actually do them that you get used to it. So I am going to now sew down there, and I always sew so that the front zip, I didn't tell you how to sandwich your zip. because I'm running along. So this is the lining fabric. We want the lining fabric right side up. For this fabric, it's plain. So that's a top tip. If you're not quite sure what to do with your lining until you start getting used to it, use plain lining. And then it doesn't matter which side you use. But the right side of the lining goes to the wrong side of the zip. All right, so we pop that down, match up the edge, the raw edge of the lining with the zip tape. And then we come along with the right side of the main fabric to the right side of the zip. So that's the right side of the main fabric to the right side of the zip. And again, meet up your raw edges. And then I'm going to swap my zipper foot over so that I can go as close as I dare to the zip. So this zipper foot, I'm going to turn that around a little. This zipper foot, I am going to use the foot to line up the raw edges with. And I've got the needle so that it comes, here's the zip teeth or the coil, which is a little bit wider than my foot. So I've got my needle tucked fairly well in. It will go a little bit closer, but I've got it tucked fairly well in, so I'm happy with that. And I'll just go steadily all the way down. I love how clips travel with you. If you want to fall, and that will help you too. And now I'm coming up to my zipper foot, my zip slider. It's in there, look. Can you see that? I can't fold this back because I've stitched that bottom because I was going to do something different. So there's my zip tab. So I want that out of the way. So I'm going to leave my, or whatever foot you're using, and push this, just maneuver, just go gently, push this away from me. That's what I'm doing inside there, is pushing it up. So my zipper foot is now, my zip slider, I keep calling it a zipper foot. My zip slider is now up here, out of the way. And I can, if you've put quilter's tape on, you won't have to do this little bit, but I'm just realigning my zip tape to my raw edges. Putting my foot down and continuing with the stitching. Okay, so I'm now going to snip my zip tab off on the inside. So I can close my zip up. I don't need the zip open. And there is my zip, nicely coiled, but it's not too close that it's going to catch. I'm going to give it a little press. So pull the fabrics away from the zip, the lining fabric and the outer fabric. What you would do if you didn't have a seam at the bottom like me is that you would just line up the bottom. And if you want to put a pin in there, feel free to put a pin in the bottom. I don't need to because it's stitched. And then if you want to, you can top stitch along the top. So I'm going to increase my stitch length, and then I'm going to just go along from the outside. So make sure you do your top stitching right from the edge, so over your zip tab as well. I'm not doing this particularly straight because I hate this zipper foot. Hate is a strong word. I don't hate it. I just don't like it. I'm so used to the other one. So there we have our zip inserted and our pocket all done. Nicely lined, nicely straight and lovely and neat. So then what we do, it's not really in the centre, but I don't mind. Yours would be in the centre. So then what we do is we add our zipped pocket. So you can clip it, you can pin it, you can even baste it if you want to, or tack it, as the old term was. I think it was one of our creative friends that was saying that on the workshop we've just done, she used some tacking and found it much easier to maneuver, which is a great idea. Tacking is so underrated. We think it's a bit of a job and takes time, but the truth of the matter is it helps us out in the long run. So if you want to tack this in place, you can. So here again, me and my zipper foot. I wouldn't do the bottom, but if you want to go all the way around, you can. I'm not going to do the bottom now, but if you want to go all the way around, you go all the way around. Or you can do it, as I said, by hand if you want to. So that's nicely held in place. And our zip pocket is not going anywhere. In. Now, it would have been looking exactly the same had I put this up to the zip and just top stitched. So that's a little bit quicker, but it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, basically. So now what we want to do is we need to finish this off at the top. So we're going to put some binding. This is not bias binding, it's ordinary binding. Now, in order to get a 1/2 inch binding, I've cut a 2-inch strip, and you can see I've cut it slightly longer than the front of my bag. So I popped I folded in half and just finger pressed, and then I've folded each end to the middle, each long end to the middle, and pressed it, and then I've folded it in half. So I'm going to give it another press. So it's lovely and flat, and those edges are really close together, right the way aligned. If you want to keep it nice and crisp, you can get your clapper on there. And then all we do is we pop our binding on the same distance away from our zip as the pocket top is. And in order to help that, we have just the thing. We will put some quilter's tape, the edge of that zip tape. It's all tape, zip sliders, zip tape, zip everything, zip tabs. Well, it is a little demonstration about zip tabs. Loving the demonstration. Oh, thank you. Such a neat way of making a pocket. It is. It's just lovely. It's really lovely, and it suits it on an ordinary pouch. You can do this because if you box the bottom of the pouch, it doesn't matter that you box the bottom of the pocket as well. So it's no big problem. It was drummed into me to tack at school, and if I don't feel my teacher right behind me, you feel your teacher right behind you now. Yeah. Oh gosh, my teacher was a dragon. Well, it was Wales after all, but she was a dragon. And funnily enough, you know, my needlework teacher, she didn't like anybody. It wasn't just me. She just didn't like anybody. But she was married to my biology teacher. And many years after I left school, I'm going to turn that over because I haven't folded it wonderfully well. There we go. So that's a tip for you. It is better than the other. Use the better side. Goodness me, life's too short to worry about it. So many years later, my parents moved house, all that kind of thing. And there were some new people come in the house opposite. And guess who it was? It was my biology teacher and his lovely wife. Not my, well, actually she was. By the time I was older and she was living next door to my mum, she was a lovely woman. And there they were. And he was absolutely thrilled to see me. And I got to say that so was she. She was a totally different woman. And she said, oh, it is lovely to see you. You were such a good pupil, a good student. And I said, oh, I didn't think you thought that at the time. She said, was I a dragon? And I said, yes. She said, we laughed about it. It was like, yeah. And she wasn't actually a really lovely lady. And she taught me a lot. I suppose that was her way, and that was it. So all I've done then, I placed the quilter's tape along the zip tape. Then I've stitched close to the edge of the zip, and now all I'm going to do is to top stitch along that edge as well. So that zip is in as firmly as you like. You see? So just to finish it off, and of course you can't leave that flapping open like that, we are going to top stitch along the top. Oh, come on, my little. So try and make these, if you can, the same distance apart, and I use my foot. So if there's a chance that you can use your foot, use your foot. Don't look at your needle, look at your foot and be guided by that. So, there we go. Now that, I'm going to do another 10-inch square. I'm going to put zip tabs on another zip and put it at the top with the other square and some lining, and I'm going to make a pouch out of that. It's a nice big size. It's a 10-inch. I've got this fantastic template here. I don't know whether you can see that against that. It's a bit, no, what shall I use? That one? Is that better? It quite clearly says Lizzy Curtis on it. I'm going to use this to box the bottom of my pouch. So I'm going, and I will let you see it. Because it was easy peasy to put that zip in, wasn't it? There was nothing difficult about it. You just have to remember the sequence. Zip right side up, main fabric right side down, lining right side up. It doesn't matter where you go in those. It doesn't matter if you turn it that way or that way. It's lining wrong side to the zip, main fabric right side to the zip. So easy. Lining right side to the wrong side of the zip. That's what I meant. So if you've never done zips, have a go. I am not going to do this one. This one I will do another time. This is probably the longest one. And this, can you see what it is? Does anybody know what's going to happen there? So what I'm going to do on this is I am going to insert a zip in here, and I call it a letterbox zip. You can call it a pillar box zip. You can call it a window zip. You can call it whatever you like. So I will chat with Lizzy and we will do zips par deux, and we'll do the more complicated one and have a look back over these, and I can probably show you my pouch at the same time. So if you're making a cushion and you want, or anything, and you want a hidden zip, you've got that one there. If you're making a pouch or a bag or anything really, and you want a pocket on the front, then this is the way to do it. And this was going to be the lining for something like this, you see? And then you can have a pocket on the front, but a pocket in the lining. But we'll do that another time. I am going to tilt the camera back up towards me. It says rotate your phone. Oh, it's because I've probably got it back to front, upside down. Right. There we go. So I hope that was of some use to you. I don't want anybody, neither Liz nor I want anybody afraid of anything. What we want is for people to enjoy what they're doing. And why avoid a zip when it's such a fantastic closure? And really, once you've learned your technique, is quite simple to do. Now that's it there. Just looks fabulous, doesn't it? And you've got the lovely lining of the bag, the main fabric inside, and the nice contrasting fabric on the actual lining of the pocket. And you can do it the other way, like I mentioned to you, so that you'd have at the bottom here, you'd have that I showed you. And then this one is your cushion, which is so neat. It's so nicely hidden down the back of your cushion. I think it's nicer than an envelope back for a cushion. They have their place, absolutely. I don't decry an envelope back. It's quick, it's easy, it's great. But pop a zip in. And why be afraid of something when all you need to do is practice? I imagine that some of you were afraid to drive at some point, or afraid to use a washing machine because you didn't know how to do it. It's just the same thing. We can do anything if we learn and practice. So just to recap on Lizzy's Sum Up store, and I'm sure that Lizzy or somebody, I think on this page, just a couple of posts down, there's a Sum Up store link. Templates on Sum Up, the beautiful one that I just showed you to do your boxed bottom corners. So if I put it on the grey bit, you can see what it looks like. And the half rectangle triangles, that's on the Sum Up store. Don't forget that there's a new workshop coming up with Lizzy, Adrienne, and that's in March. So have a look on Lizzy's website for that. If you're a knitter, follow my page, join my group. I've noticed that a couple of you have asked to join the group now, so I'll get to those, or the admin girls will get to those in a minute and let you in. I've got the Freddie workshop, and if you are a member of my group, you get £2 off the workshop. Now, there's nothing to pay to be a member of my group. There's no subscription, there's nothing. So for you to get £2 off the workshop is, well, it's £2 off the workshop. So it's great value. Don't forget that in the next couple of weeks, I will be here again on the Lizzy Curtis page in 2 weeks. That's on the 24th, next Thursday. So I think that's the 20th, something like that. Lizzy will be doing a workshop on Friday night. That's the last one in the Xavier workshop. You can still join that workshop if you want to. The videos are there, and she'll be doing the last one on Friday night. Saturday morning, she will be live here doing the quilt for the Sue Ryder charity. And then I think Lizzy will be here or in the group again. I did have the calendar up and now I've forgotten all about it. But the calendar is in the Lizzy Curtis, in the Lizzy's Creative Friends group, so you can see what's going on. Loads. So don't get bored. Don't get lonely. We're here, isn't it? The workshop, you probably know how to do this knitting. You know probably how to make Xavier bag and Adrienne bag from the pattern. But what nicer way to spend a few evenings a week, or a few evenings over a few weeks, or a couple of evenings a week, just sewing along with your friends or knitting along with your friends. So have a go at zips and just put your, just comment somewhere. Put it in Making It Special, your photos. That's what it's there for. Put photos in there to say, I've had a go, and you'll get everybody encouraging you. Because we were all there once. We were all there at the beginning once. I am going to sign off. My husband will be home from work in a minute, and I'm going to go and cook some tea and then put my feet up for 10 minutes. Lovely to see you. Thanks for your company. Look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks' time. Bye-bye for now. Bye.